When we talk about the box model, and I'm just going to give you an example here of what that box model is. So we've got something called the box model in CSS, and what that is, that's how we're going to use margins, borders, and padding. And as we had seen before, so I'm just going to give this one an ID equals and I'm going to bring that out over here. So I'm going to call to that ID as a selector my margin, and we're going to give it a background color. And we'll give it a background color of this blue. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply that margin. So much like what we had done there with the div, that we had that background color, and when we applied padding, that actually applied padding to what's internal within the box and not padding to what's external. So also I'm going to add in a border here so that we can see where that particular box ends and where it begins. So with borders, you have the ability to do colors, you have the ability to do border widths, and you can also do everything all together. So you have also border images and a whole bunch of stuff you can do with borders. So you can do a border image repeat, and this is now that CSS3 styling. So again, you can also make a border radius, so make it rounded. So for this one, we're just going to talk about setting a regular border. So what we want to have a border that's maybe going to be yellow, so that it really does stand out there. And we're going to add in a solid border, and we're going to make it 3 pixels wide. And with borders, again, you can combine all these elements, or all these values, or you could do something like border color and then set the color this way, and you could be more specific. So you could list out the properties or do these kind of combined properties. And so this is more of a short form of writing it, because most of the time when you're setting a border, you're going to need a color, you're going to need to specify it, as well as you're going to have to give it a width. So we go back out here, we can see here that we've written out that box model CSS. We've got that yellow border that we set, and so we've created a blue box, and around that box, as you can see here, we've got this white space, and that white space is determined by margin. So if I was to actually increase that, so just to illustrate it a little bit better, so the outside part is going to be what's known as the margin, and the inside part is going to be what's known as padding. So if I add in padding of, and if you notice, I also added in this red box, and this was just more to illustrate and to be able to highlight that external margin that's around that element, HTML element. So when I add in padding, you can see that it adds this padding on the inside. So essentially with the box model, we've got the margin on the outside, so this is that red part. We've got the border, which is the yellow part, and then we've got the blue part, which is the actual padding, and then inside of everything we've got our HTML content. So the padding itself changes the amount of space between what you have top, bottom, left, and right. And because this is taking up that entire width here, maybe we can see it a little bit better if we were to do a full width span or something like that. I just quickly added that in so we can better see where the actual content is sitting, and then we've got that padding around it, so top, bottom, left, and right, border, and then margin. So essentially this is the box model. And with all of these, you've got actually some ability to really control what type of padding you want, what type of margin you want. So we can do something like margin top and only have that margin right at the top of this particular element. Now I'm not sure if this is going to work because we're actually controlling this with this red box and this padding. But if I was to remove that out, so we're able to see here that it's actually going to be this white space that's being applied to that margin top, and if we do margin bottom, we can refresh that and we'll see that that white space is now at the bottom. And with margins, you can actually combine it. So when I'm typing in margin, this is actually a short form for encompassing all four sides of that particular box. So when I'm doing margin top, margin bottom, margin left, margin right, I'm specifying which part of the box and how many pixels are being applied. So also there's additional short form for that. And if you want to apply to top and bottom, but you only want to have left and right to have a 5 pix width, you can see when I refresh that, it's going to apply that 50 pix to the top and bottom. And on the left and the right, it's only going to be using 5 pixels. And so we have additional short forms that we can do. So the next one is going to be the bottom, and it works clockwise. So it starts at the top, and then if you don't have a second value for the horizontal value, then it's just going to apply this to both of them. And the same thing with the top and bottom. So if you're not specifying top and bottom, it's just going to apply 50 pix to the top and the bottom. But as soon as we apply this bottom width and we're more specific with it, watch what it's going to do now. It's only going to do top 50, it's going to do bottom 10, and it's going to do left and right 5. So once we save that, back out to the code, and you see here that the top 50, bottom 10, and left and right are 5. And again, going with this same setup, that if we're working or working clockwise, so first we have the top, then we have the right, then we have the bottom, and if the left isn't specified, it takes the right's value. But now we're specifying the left of 100 pix, and we go back out to the code and we refresh it, we see that in fact indeed it does apply that 100 pix on the left, 5 on the right, top and bottom 50. So they're all going to be different. All the sides are going to have different values. And this works the same way for padding. So as you can see here in padding, we've just got this short form where we're applying 30 pix all around. So again, much like what we were doing with the margin, if we want to apply 100 pix to top and bottom, we're going to refresh that, or we see that now we're applying that 100 pix. Sorry, that would be left and right. We're applying 100 pix. So left has 100 pix, right has 100 pix, and top and bottom are still 30. And then if we do one where we've got a smaller value, so we're just going to put 0. And you can see that even when I'm using 0, it's still going to use that 0 value of applying 0 pixels within that padding. And then so on, we're going to add in that right value. So we're going to do 0 pix again for the right value, just so that we can see that there is a difference. And we can see that there it is. It's been moved in all the way over to the left, 100 pix here. And it does take a little bit of playing around to understand exactly how this box model is working. But essentially, that's how you're able to set different widths, heights, and work with the box model to really customize that look and feel of that particular element in HTML.